Wait.
Yes, we are. Tisk, tisk, tisk.
Oh, we should be on break.
Well, no.
That's the old one.
That's the old one. You didn't.
Oh, no, I didn't.
No, you didn't put up the new one. You don't
Uh,
need to be on break, and they can hear us, can't they? Cause
yeah, they probably can.
Yes.
Browse.
Well, this will take a second.
Bonk. Bonk.
Open. That's better.
Done.
Done. All right.
Wrong size.
Well, you had to adjust that. R2 astromac beeps. Yes.
Do 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 do.
That is not the right song for that. Good afternoon. Now werewolf growl. Yes, you need the werewolf growls. Hello, everybody. Welcome to yet another live stream. What's that?
Werewolf growl.
That did not resemble a werewolf growl.
I don't know. I've never actually heard a werewolf growl in real life.
Well, not too much.
Do you need more camera? Do I need to tilt this just a
a
tiny bit?
A bit, yes. So, any rate, yes, welcome back to another live stream.
Happy day.
Yes, happy yet another day.
Live long and prosper, except I can't do it right, and Lori can.
What? Live long and prosper?
Yeah, see, my fingers don't
Peace and long
don't
life.
go together there.
Oh, well. Years and years of
Star Trek fandom?
Star Trek fandom, yes. Or
Well,
else I'm just physically...
How are you all today? We know we have at least OSU Brainiac and Murdochtopus. I don't know if we have anyone else here.
Well, it's close enough.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
That's a crowd.
Yeah.
Let's see. It says here, successfully connected.
I see 7. Okay, well, 7's a start.
Where are you seeing 7? Oh, they're seeing 7?
They're seeing... Well, Brainiac sees 7.
Okay.
He sees ghosts.
That's true. We learned that the image system in The Sixth Sense was any scene in which there was red present in the scene.
There were ghosts.
Meant that there were ghosts. So we do see ghosts.
Clearly, we'll be doing this forever. Even after we're dead.
We are not alive.
We will haunt the internet. So, yes.
I was going to go take some cold medicine.
Well, you can do that. I can carry the fort for a few minutes. The whole point, once he gets out of the way...
It's not so easy.
No, it isn't. It's cramped here. The whole point of this one was Mayplay. Well, the viewer count just jumped to a dozen. Well, at that rate, we'll have a full house. So many more ghosts. Yes, indeed. Our theory here was it's May, so we play. And we'll play a game. And today's game happens to be MacGuffin's Curse. And that is by Branson Games. And the reason why we did Road to Redemption is because we were contacted by the creator of this game who wanted to do a game with us. Oh, I'm in good spirits and with them. Yes, we're all surrounded by good spirits today. The bad spirits can go away. Oh, thank you, Buck Rogers. Subscribed for 22 months. So at any rate, Road to Redemption. Well, when the Kickstarter movement started, Corey and I were thinking, yes, we've got to do something to do it. And we had a lot of fans that were saying, yeah, you should do a Kickstarter. But we didn't have...
Yeah, I got about 20 messages from people saying, you should see what Double Fine is doing on, and Tim Schafer are doing on Kickstarter.
But at the time, we had no company, we had no connections. We did think about doing things like releasing scenarios for D&D on it.
Yeah, we actually made a list of 8 or 10 projects we could be doing to try and get ourselves out of debt, and we chose the wrong one. But
other than that,
one of them was to do a new version, like either Pathfinder or D&D 5th edition of Tower of Indomitable Circumstance. Mm-hmm. And that project is actually happening currently, but in an odder way than that.
Yep. So at any rate,
one of them was to take Lori's book that she wrote with Michelle Baker and clean that up, edit it, and publish it.
Yep. So we had a lot of possibilities.
One of them was to do a board game, I think.
Not then. Well, we did talk. We could do a board game because we both had a lot of background in playing board games.
And the people that we were working with a company in Israel wanted to actually. They were actually the first impetus, and they said that they wanted to do a Kickstarter for a game about Bob Marley's life that we were working on with them, and they wanted us to get heavily involved in that and to promote our names as being part of it.
Yeah, but that was kind of about the same time, so they all happened about the same time, or we probably would have gone with them to help make our game. But, so we were actually involved in Road to Redemption when they contacted us directly. Because we had to say,
So we went on a panel at San Diego Comic-Con on Kickstarter and crowdfunding, and Bolt Riley is what it became. It was originally called Roots Rock Reggae, and it was originally a Bob Marley game, and then Sedalia Marley did not give the project her blessing, and that's why they quickly rebranded it to Bolt Riley.
But they had gotten permission from somebody, but I think it was a music creator.
It was
Virgin Entertainment or something like that.
I was their publisher. I thought it was their music publisher.
Yeah, and then they found they didn't have the rights to any of the music, so that sort of was started.
They had a lot of it, but the 3 songs that we had chosen for our part of it turned out to be 3 songs that they didn't have rights
have.
to.
Yes.
3 Little Birdies and One Love, and I can't remember
what the third was. But we had enough time to design that kind of game. But it was indeed the contact by the creator of MacGuffin's Curse, and
yes, that was Andrew Golding had his own company called Brawsome out of Australia. And he had 2 games out, Jolly Rover and MacGuffin's Curse.
And they were small-scale games, and he made it on a relatively small budget. And he said, we can do that too, with his help. And we said, okay.
Yeah, we'll do that.
We'll do that since, Kickstarter was exploding at that time, and everybody was making millions of money. And it sounded really, really good.
I do want to emphasize for anyone who picks up Bolt Riley, the part that we designed for the game is not actually in it. That is part 1 of the game. We designed part 2 that never got released. Although the opening concert scene is mine.
It's something of yours. It's
something of mine. It's related. It's related to mine.
It's a weird interpretation of Corey's.
Yeah, we had designed a relatively straightforward, serious thing that had an interesting thing. Instead of an inventory, you had an inspiration inventory.
Right. So it was kind of going with magical realism with Bob Marley, so that the music would go off into fantasy land, and the game itself would be relatively straightforward. So kind of like Yellow Submarine style.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we had read a story about Bob Marley's first guitar that he had built, or as somebody had built for him, out of basically scrap parts and stuff.
And we watched a video of this village in Africa where the kids all were making instruments out of scrap stuff, and they sounded awesome.
Yeah, they had their own orchestra, and that was really good. So anyway, so we had basically acquiring as the adventure game puzzle was acquiring the pieces to make your guitar and then building it.
And acquiring inspiration to create the songs.
Yes.
So therefore you had this kind of magical moment, so it wouldn't be too boring.
So it was a pretty cool thing, and that was the same company that did the prototype for the Leisure Suit Larry Reloaded. And the problem is that Paul Trow and Al Lowe and Josh Mandel all lost faith in them and decided, we don't know if this company's really the right one for us.
And so they went with their other.
Somebody else.
They created their own company.
No, they worked with a company. Yeah, no, it was a company out in New Jersey, I think, New Jersey or New York, that was had done some previous games. They had worked with Jane Jensen.
Oh, did they?
Yeah. So they ended up doing all this stuff for it.
Okay.
Creating inspiration for the songs, theme to the Music Man.
Yeah.
A little less bullshit. I mean, Music Man is all about the guy's a con man.
Yeah.
Whereas this is more serious.
kind of serious, but we did want to have a very distinct style between the magical realism. I mean, the magical parts of the music and the realism of the game. And they actually had some talented artists over there that was giving us some good...
we were getting some good art. Although for black people, they were doing the, 1800s style, oversized, bloated lips and stuff.
A little bit stereotypical. It was kind of,
it wasn't so good.
The problem with making caricatures is that you always overemphasize certain parts of the anatomy, and caricatures can be really downright ugly, and they can be really offensive. Yes. And so therefore you really do a thin line trying to do a cartoon with a character.
So the other major theme to our part of it is we read about in Kingston, Jamaica, that they had what they called sound systems. And a sound system was basically somebody would put together a public address system with huge speakers and stuff on like the back of a pickup truck, and they would drive it park it somewhere and have a block party where they would play music really loudly there, and everybody would dance and
you'd have Battle of the Bands or Battle of the DJs. And
Battle of the DJs. So at that point, when Bob Marley and the Wailers were first starting out, they were in one of these sound system battles against another better-known group in Kingston. And so we had a whole section of the game where you were basically trying to get the loudest possible sound system and sabotage your opponent's sound system, I think. If I recall correctly.
Well, you get sabotaged.
You get sabotaged. They tried to sabotage you.
You have to. So we, did our research,
but
we were, of course, the perfect people to do a Bob Marley game.
Yes, black poor people from Jamaica.
Yes, which exactly was everybody else on that entire team.
They're entirely white Israeli.
Israeli team.
They did have one advantage we don't have, is that. It's been an awful long time since we've smoked dope.
Yes, that's true.
So yes. The Israeli were much better on the drug side of it.
Yeah. So we didn't have that part down either. So it is a good thing that we.
So they actually had better fantasy than we did, because they were doing some really trippy scenes, and Laurie, I think, came up with the idea with the tour bus flying in there, or did they come up with that? The tour bus flying in the air and dropping out sparkly rainbows. And
we talked about that during the music, so I don't know if it was them or that. But I
think they came up with it, and we said, yeah, that's really cool.
But we didn't actually ever get to make anything. So.
Lorian Wise is joining us. Are we coming apart?
I hope.
We probably are, yeah.
Well, we always are, yes. Hi there. I love that your quests were based on Marley's early roots in music. Yeah, we really did our research. I mean, we didn't just try to make things out of our,
All of which, of course, in a Bolt Riley game, well, it's perfectly fine. I mean, Bolt Riley could have been a poor person growing up in Kingston who had the same. I think we actually they reworked the story so that we had actually
right. We had an initial plan.
Our initial opening was going to be. That you're a reporter who's a big fan of Bob Marley's music.
And so you can come in there with no background for the thing, and then you see the show. I mean,
you're going in there to discover the roots.
Yes. And so therefore we had you as the player uncover these things and get to see this stuff. And
we had a kind of a shaman-type advisor that you would run into that you were never quite clear if he was a real person or a ghost, who said, I remember Bob Marley, and this is how it goes, and then you get into the game.
Yeah, so that was our plot with that, and we really were excited.
We regretted that it never happened.
Yeah, because, but then again, they took out the music. That kind of was the first thing. Once you can't do Bob Marley's music, what is the point?
Well, we could have had some of Bob Marley's music, but the problem is we wrote specific plot elements based around the songs, because the whole idea was, what is the inspiration for One Love?
Yeah. So, at any rate, it didn't happen, but we had Andrew Golding come up to us and say, let's
I want to work with you, yeah.
And we said,
cool.
Sounds good to us. And I know we've talked about the Kickstarter and how we were trying to sell a different game when we were going into the Kickstarter, but because of all of you, we decided in the course of the Kickstarter that we had to make the game that you wanted to play, and not the game, a simple roguelike game that would be easy to make, that Andrew and knew how to program and wanted to make, versus what we could make.
Yeah, it was sort of roguelike. It would look kind of like a rogue game, but we were going to have real story in it.
Story.
And we used the tagline that said, tiling as you've never seen it before. And we can show you what we meant by that.
Do you have any you have it up there?
I have it right here.
Oh, good.
Maybe. So let us go to the desktop.
Well, you should get it up before you go to the desktop.
We'll go play.
Oh, well, it doesn't look anything like that. We used to have
what?
We used to have, it wouldn't have it looked like this.
What do you mean?
I mean, because we had different artists. Our original
Oh,
art.
yeah.
I thought you were going to show off the original art.
No, I was going to show off the MacGuffin's Curse art.
Okay, this came out in 2012, and our Kickstarter started when?
2012.
What do you know?
November of 2012. But we were talking about it in July and August.
Right, but he had this game
and
out
doing the prep for it.
just that year.
Peddling pseudoscience.
Interesting.
He used the idea of having a graphic novel that you're gathering pages of the graphic novel and putting them together to give you the story elements behind it. I think he may have. I don't remember it being this good. He may have improved it.
No, that was the thing. No, this is it.
Time to steal that amulet for Harvey. Hey, is this the museum entrance? I'll bet it's just down that path.
So yes, we were going to go with this style of art. A top-down, moving character through an environment based off of how this would work. We haven't played this game since...
For a while, yeah, it's been a while.
The 1912, or 2012, actually.
This is giving us clues where to go.
Yes. So far, no puzzles.
Looks like I'm going to have to get my feet wet. Werewolves hate that.
Well, he's not a werewolf. He's just a guy. He's just a thief right now. Look. When we came to that arrow down, it said there was an eye icon in the top. There. See? Eye icon. Doesn't do anything, but there's a...
Maybe there's a button you could hit to get...
I don't know. We'll have to figure out the interface, which we don't know.
Oh, let's see, we're going the wrong way. We have to get our feet wet again.
I guess so. Swim. He's got swimming animation. That's kind of cool.
Yeah. So this is what we had in mind for Hero originally.
Probably M-key. That would work. We'll have to figure out what the interface is for this.
Nope. Let's see. We could probably hit escape for the menu.
Uh-huh.
And we have select up down.
That's a save, I think, the comic book. Okay.
There's volume, sound volume.
How is the sound for you people? Can you hear
Yeah, is this too loud or too quiet?
You could go to the news. I mean, you could go to the other things. There are other things here.
That's the comics.
Okay.
Sneaky Thief. This is our quest log.
Yeah.
Steal the lupine twine amulet.
From the Museum of Myths and Mysteries.
Mysteries. Yeah, the news is probably the thing we already saw. Oh, no, that's actually this thing. Okay. 0% complete.
Okay.
Uh-oh, is it starting us over?
One moment. Defending the motherland. No, it's loading.
Oh, good.
Museum of Myths and Mysteries.
Let's see. Where's the best place to bust in?
Oh. Bad to bust in when there's somebody there.
Scruffy Eye. Good evening, sir. Do you happen to know what time the museum opens? Hemph, the magical MacGuffins. Strump's caught you at last. Speaking of which, I just remembered I'm late for a performance. Apparently you're a stage magician. Those lies might work on your daughter, MacGuffin, but unless you want your other tricks reported, listen up. Alphonse Connell took my badge, and your next trick is making his prized amulet disappear. Here, take this walkie-talkie. Wow, they still make these? What's it for? It's your direct line to me to make sure you don't mess this one up. Now slip through the window up there and get on with it. Ah, a clue. That old walkie-talkie is practically falling to bits, but at least it lets me stay in touch with Trump. All right. Updated quests. Okay, so apparently we don't go in the front door.
We have an interface on the left side. We have a quest log. We have a hint, which we can get by talking to our,
and we have
our
1% completion. Pop. Nope, maybe that's not the window.
That's the window.
And
we have to figure out how. Ah, there, you got the arrow.
There wasn't
Not to slight the developers, because this game looks fun, but I'm very happy that we got the game we have. Yeah, well, the first thing that was wrong with this is that we brought on an art director, i.e. Terry Robinson, who
worked on with us on Quest for Glory 5.
And did the wonderful cover for
Quest for Glory 1 VGA.
Yes, which...
the stained glass window one.
Stained glass window one, is that this one?
It's a fat box.
This one. He did this one where his name is visible somewhere in it.
Yeah, too much glare. There we go.
Yes, so he did that cover. So we got him on, and basically...
It's a brand new, is it Japanese?
Is that,
Korean?
No, the Korean has Japanese letters on it. It is
okay.
not. He hated this look. He thought this looked awful. So the first thing he wanted to do is go to more of the
to your left,
isometric style.
Curators note this exhibit is undergoing maintenance, so we apologize for the inconvenience. Andrew said, yeah, I can do isometric, and he came up with a version of this game that was the same tiles, but now tilted viewpoint. So it looked isometric. It actually looked pretty good and worked pretty well.
Hi, Cosmic Void.
Welcome.
Uh-huh.
And then various other things happened.
Right. We had a lot of things that happened. Now, what's this placard say? Is that the same? It's going to say the same thing, or?
To your right, relive the wondrous history of Fair and see the legendary lupine twine amulet.
Okay.
Graciously donated by esteemed backer Alphonse Connell. There's a small plaque near the bottom. It says Gatekeeper.
What about that painting? Can you look at the painting below?
Where? Oh, down there.
That one, the one you can't see. Ah.
Painting of a lake by some guy.
Okay.
You can always tell which plaques are handled by student interns.
I see. Yes. I really did like the original mock-ups I saw. We had some pretty good mock-ups. I did like the style. It would have been an interesting game.
So yes, N is interact.
Okay, and you just changed a button.
Yes, and
that took off the gate up
the wall of...
So yes, this game is a puzzle-solving game.
But,
is that the safe?
Oh, I guess we're picking the lock. There's some treasure in here and a comic scrap too. So there's a scrap of the comic, and then as you put them all together, then you get the storyline of what you've done so far.
Well, it isn't your story that we were seeing there. Okay, and that
unlocked the other barrier.
Okay.
So that was nice and straightforward, and this is the old ball.
Okay, so we were going with an isometric approach. And,
you want me to get away from this?
No, I don't think so. If we just should chat over it, you can go look at things and
okay.
That. The problem was when we tried to actually get Unity to work with our new approach. And Unity was not designed at that point for doing 2D work. But we had, that was our intended engine, because that's what...
this was done in Unity.
And this was done all in Unity.
And so Andrew said, basically I've got the code base for this. We just modify, and that's the way that I did all the games, all the stuff I worked on is,
N? Okay. N, of course, it's intuitive.
Of course. Players' historic attempt to enter the comic book industry. So, all the games that I did on my own stuff, I did with Bob Heitman and so on. We did the Passport to Bridge, Passport to Chess, and so on. Passport to Backgammon. And what we did is we had a basic game loop for Windows and, a parser and so on. And then we would save that core code off, stripped out of all the other game code. And for each game we did, then we would go and modify that. So that's the way you end up not having to reinvent the wheel every time. Ceci n'est pas un sabre.
This is not a sword?
This is not a saber.
Ah, okay.
And that's because it's a image of a saber. So I guess you cannot take that off the wall and use it as a...
that makes sense. Keep yakking.
Special tome filled with history of fairs. You're distracting me, though. So, anyway, that's the way you make games. It's, the first one you do is always the hardest. But once you've done one, you've got all the core game loop and all the stuff. And in the case of Sierra, the Harvest Festival...
Oh my God! It ties into Tilly's tale!
So, Lori didn't remember this. But,
no, I did
but
not.
she had built the entire Summer Days at Hero U based on
clearly.
that image in this game.
Clearly, yeah.
And clearly didn't remember it, but influenced you.
Yeah.
Anyway, so the idea is that once you've got that core loop in there, and once you've written an adventure game, then you've done all the parts of an adventure game. You have the parser, you have the graphics display routines, and so on. And you can then modify that and rework it for other games. Sierra was actually even better than that because they had a systems team that solely worked on the game interpreter and the system code, and then all of the development teams used the engine that they developed for us. So it let people specialize. Most of the people that worked in our games were not software engineers. They were scripters that took Lori's designs and then wrote the game scripts. King Raph's legendary sword. So, in this case, we were going to start with MacGuffin's Curse as a base, and this would not be the game, but all the things that were used to draw these things, the ability to move around, to display a character, and so on, we could have used. Good thing our palm print sets it off.
It is good.
So now we're in a more complicated section of the game where there is a place that needs a battery. There's a battery, and there's a console that I guess lets you get into that thing. But the console, I think if we went there, would turn out not to be powered because we haven't put the battery in place.
Whatever. We have to, yes.
You have to now start solving puzzles.
This is a puzzle-solving game. That is its style. This looks, yes, this is very similar to what Hero U was going to look like. And in fact, gameplay-wise, we were going to borrow this style of gameplay, i.e. interacting with an environment by pushing and moving things, to be our combat system, so that we would be able to have things like dropping traps in different locations and setting up, and each trap would have a different kind of behavior. Like one would throw the character to the next square, one would trap them for a round. We would do a combat system that was basically puzzle solving. You'd set it all up and then attract the monster, and the monster would go through your series of traps.
Now, we had started on talking about Hero U before we ever saw this game. So the way I originally envisioned it was like the game Rogue, and I was actually thinking more like what was the major roguelike?
Zork.
No,
not Zork. The big one, the expansion one.
Not Abattoir, but some similar word. Anyway, so there was like an advanced Rogue, and I didn't actually like that game as well as the original Rogue. I liked the simplicity of Rogue. But the idea was that you would get to a place of the map, and instead of the maps being randomly drawn, that we would pre-draw them, and you would get to a place and, have some text message that says, this is the Kobold headquarters, and then you could, interact with the Kobold King or whatever, fight kobolds and so on. And the idea is that we would have a little bit of story, and some environments that were more consistent than in a random rogue game.
Yeah.
But otherwise using, the simplicity of the rogue approach to movement and so on.
Yeah, and Corey and our son Michael, who was more involved at that point, had long discussions on it, and I was kind of like, okay, well, we can do this, but it doesn't sound very interesting. Now, how do you
I cannot move it.
You cannot. Not
Maybe
yet.
this info. So let's go over to that console. Bah.
Okay, that one's working now.
And what did it do? It took the thing away from the treasure, so we can just get the treasure, or so we think. Bah.
All right, we got a treasure. The alarm goes on. We put on the necklace, and suddenly things happen.
So we did not start out the game as a werewolf.
No, we did not. We become a werewolf because we put on the necklace.
I feel incredible. Tough. Tall and tough. And itchy. Oh, what's up behind me? Oh. Looks like there really was a curse to that amulet. When did I get a tail? And why can I smell everything? Focus! You just tripped Alphonse's fancy new security system. If those blueprints I, quote, found are correct, the only way to restore power is by lugging that battery into the battery slot. Okay, and now we have the lupine twine amulet shaped like a wolf's head, half gold, half platinum, with emerald eyes, and allows me to transform to a werewolf in the moonlight, and it seems to be holding on to my neck pretty tightly. That was the old D&D cursed items. The key to a cursed item in Dungeons & Dragons was that once you had it on, you could not remove it. Okay, now we're really strong. This doesn't work.
Still doesn't work.
Oh, it says M.
M.
M for move.
Move.
M.
Oh.
Or maybe we have to go to the letter M.
I don't know.
Hold the M key when in front of up. Oh, okay. Here we go. M and push while holding down M.
There.
Man, what a lame security system. Don't get cocky. My cameras show the entire city has gone into a similar lockdown. Poofed. Are there going to be 100 individually sealed rooms or something? I doubt it. And how am I going to get out of here? I don't think those hand scanners accept wolf paws. Beats me. Just take it off. Yelp, it's stuck! Looks like the amulet responded to moonlight when you put it on, though. Maybe try that light over there. So this is the hint system. Okay, now we can say N. And standing in moonlight, we can change forms. I remember that part of the game. But, light's red. Why is that?
The alarm is still on.
There's a note here. Key to archive stolen by those seeking the truth. Ask for Judy. That would probably be some sort of a developer inside reference. But there's another door.
We have succeeded in doing something.
Someone said one of the old images is still up on the old Kickstarter.
Yes.
So let's see if we can... reset button if you... I missed that. Room will reset as it was when you entered.
There's a menu over there.
Oh, it's doing auto saves. Maybe we want to...
Well, we should save if you're going to go out of here. That's not... Okay.
All right.
Quit is to the left.
I guess so. So that's a little taste of the game. Is that enough, or we
no,
come
we'll
back to it
play.
later?
We'll come back to it, but we'll go.
What I just wanted to alt tab.
Alt tab.
Actually.
Okay, fine. All right. So.
There we go.
Right.
That worked.
And so
Okay, so I'm going to take this link that somebody has put up.
Yep. And we will talk about
because our viewers, followers, participants know more than we do.
Right.
So here on the desktop
is the original Road to Redemption stuff.
But it didn't show one of the old images. They didn't say where, or they should give us what update was on.
Scrolling.
Okay.
Yes, that was our old style. That was our
what the character was going to look like. That was
yes.
Eric
Barnes.
No, the other Eric.
Eric Barnes.
Eric with a Q. No, that wasn't. Was that Eric Barnes?
Yeah.
I thought it was.
No. Yeah, it wasn't. It wasn't the Eric. The Eric did these art. This art is the other Eric, or Eric.
Who's we certainly ought to remember, but
I know last name.
we're bad.
Escaping.
Okay, here we go.
There we go. That's the
Okay,
way.
concept art built with tiles.
Yes.
And the problem is that I'm sort of used to be a programmer, and I looked at this and said, yeah, it's built with tiles, but in order to do this, there are so many purpose-built tiles that are there just to give it this specific look.
Yeah.
And that's not the right way to make a game with tiles. MacGuffin's Curse has a small number of tiles, and it has tiles for the add-ons like the paintings and so on. But it's not a gigantic number of tiles. So this was our idea.
It was a concept art done by an artist instead of driven by the programmers.
Yeah.
And that's the difference.
Well, the artist did make all the tiles, but they basically painted the painting and then broke it up into tiles.
Right. And so therefore, I mean, but really, honestly, all you needed was tile, 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 and then a stairs tile, and then another stairs tile.
And you could have painted in the background.
Right, and all of this could have been just painted in, and you just do it that way. So it is
that's
still
true.
usable.
Okay, yeah. So we had the vignette concept we ended up doing in Hero U that made it easy by, when we wanted to have a description of an action that we had JP make a painting that we would bring up.
Yeah, we weren't going to do it that way.
But we could have done a hybrid approach in here where we could have a background painting and then tiles on top of the background.
The programmer puts down the tiles, and that provides the place where the character can walk.
Yeah, in fact, that's exactly how Tetris worked. Tetris had a painting in the background that showed like, a red square or something, some scene in Russia.
Yes.
And then it had the game in between with the actual
So, yes, we could have made that work. It just was not designed well for what Corey thought, where you could move anywhere in this thing. No, you'd only be able to work where there were actual tiles. So,
that was a lovely garden.
Eric Chang.
Eric Chang and Eric
Barnes.
Yeah, of course.
Yes. So, this was the style we were going to
So Andrew actually introduced us to Eric Chang and said, that he had worked on, he was a fan who was an excellent artist.
I knew Eric Chang before.
Yeah, we knew him because he worked with AGDI.
Yes, but more to that, I had met him.
Oh, okay.
He had come to the house with one of the AGI groups when you weren't around, and I had signed his poster of the Quest for Glory 2 poster, which was interesting.
Did that portrait of you make you look fat?
Any rate, that was the
another
style.
fan did the T-shirt design.
Yes, yet another fan. Thanks to yes.
And Eric Chang was the one who started putting sheep everywhere.
Yes, he was the one that came up with the original Hero U that we just played off of. He did these designs, and I really loved them. It would have been a very different game if Eric Chang had stayed on, because his drawings are very complex.
And his issue was that we didn't communicate enough with him, that we weren't really working directly one-on-one with him on stuff, and he had a confidence crisis as not having been the art designer for a full game before.
Right.
So
But
I
he
think
did
we
job.
could have made it all work, but
Okay.
Lori and I would have had to work harder.
Well, we would have had to work differently. There we go. Yeah. You could have gotten this if you two could be playing this game if you were part of the Beta Tau. I've even tried to learn how to do that. I just cannot put two lines together, unfortunately. Cool coder, but I am no artist.
Good coder, yeah.
Well, that's the thing is, you can now get things off the Unity store and basically put together a game with generic art that actually is pretty specific generic art anymore. I mean, you can get almost anything going. But yes, Eric, I'm not. This really wasn't. This was more. This tile system here was more Terry Robinson influenced than it was Eric
Chang.
Yes, yeah. and it was and definitely had aspects of JP's, work because you could see with that back. Yeah.
Painterly, yes.
Painterly. This is an Eric Chang, on the other hand, but I think he got JP to actually paint it. Because he's really, really good with line drawings.
It would have been absolutely lovely, but we talked about having a tower garden in the game, and we ended up making a much more simplistic tower garden.
Well,
this
yes.
is lush. I love that.
Mm-hmm. So yes, these were concept art. Let's see.
And it's great art. The question is, how do you make a game out of it? You could have done it with basically, a text game or a voice game with these as just having these background scenes.
And they were. Chang does very lush art. I mean, there were always textures underneath things. Look at all the textures. The basically the same drawing was put underneath the text field there. You could see the
I
lights,
see.
yeah.
Yeah, they've got the tree and stuff.
So he's very lush, very rich. It would have been everything. Everybody that works on our projects affects the game and gives us, direction how the game will wind up being.
Right. So if you took the exact same game concept, and this is one of the things I keep answering on, or used to keep answering on Quora, is people would say, I've got this great idea for a game. How can I get a team to make it for me? And the answer is that if you have a concept for a game, the actual game you end up with in the end will, in some ways, reflect that concept, but it will be an entirely different game if you had, say, Bob Fishbach working on it versus Eric Chang versus Terry Robinson, that every, or JP. Each one brings in their own sensibilities for the look of the game. The programmers have their own ideas of how to make it work. So the earlier prototypes of Hero U, one of the first ones that actually kind of worked was that one of the programmers, I forgot everybody's name, put together a infinite hallway. You could basically walk along the hallway and that it kept scrolling and so on, and that was kind of the predecessor to using Unity and getting it to do full rooms. But that had its own look, and then we had a lead programmer for a while who said, "Oh, you should do this whole thing in 3D. Unity's really designed for 3D." And we said, "But the fans all want 2D," and we ended up with a compromise and actually going more towards the 3D in the end, because Unity turns out not to be very good at 2D.
At that point, we came in at the wrong part for Unity. It changed twice during the course of Road to Redemption, and
And today, Unity has apparently pretty good 2D stuff.
Yeah, so it probably could have been done with everything we did. Would have been much easier to do, and we could have pulled this off and we had not.
And Samantra is saying, coding is logic, I can handle that, but painting, drawing, I just can't get the hang on it. And that is why games are made by teams. I can draw bad stick figures. I could probably do the Herman's Hermit, Little Hermit. That's about it. Lori is actually quite a good artist, but her media are, at this point, are photography and then 3D sculpture, working in clay and so on. JP is a painter.
Yeah.
And that everybody has their different skills. Then you generally bring in a musician as another person. Sometimes the designer is a musician, but, when we think of a Sierra-style game, our idea of the game designer is mostly a writer. They're basically creating story, and they're creating, puzzles and connections between story elements, so they're basically about writing. But Lighthouse at Sierra was done by John Bach, and he is primarily an artist, so that was a very art-centric game. So each game basically reflects the team you put on it, reflects the game designer, and during the Bill Davis era, the idea was that all the game leaders should be artists. That they felt that the key to a Sierra-style game was the art. And so you really need an artist in charge of it. But just because somebody's a good artist doesn't necessarily mean they're a good team leader.
Or anything of the above. Good programmers, not necessarily good team leaders.
Good writers, not necessarily team leaders.
Not necessarily team players either.
Yeah. So we had the Writers Ghetto at Sierra, came in a couple years after we were there, and that had Josh Mondale, Jane Jensen, Gino Hain, Patrick Bridgman, and maybe one or two others. And they were basically, that was Bill Davis's idea, was to, if the designers are going to be artists, they're not doing the writing. So you have a Writers Ghetto where you have writers that will write the games. Say escape. Probably have to hit escape, I think. Actually click on the X instead on the escape word. Yeah.
Okay. You mean we can just...
There are some point and click type things. You can probably click on the carriage return. Nope. No, don't erase.
Alright,
well. Quit now. No. Okay. Let's go back to our profile. And then we'll get back to the game.
Okay.
So, we had Bob Fishbach was one of our main programmers on Heroes Quest. And Bob's background was that he had worked in theater design, and he was a roadie for some major rock groups. So he went around the country basically setting up equipment and stuff like that. And at Sierra, he was a scripter. Sounds like it's gotten louder. Is this game too loud for you guys? If so, let us know. But what that meant was Bob was not, the world's most, educated software engineer, but he really understood the concepts of, I see what's going on here, and really understood the concepts of animation and making setting up a scene, and effectively making a game interactive and playable. So he was by far, the best scripter we had, even though his code wasn't necessarily software engineer level, but it always did the right thing. I was saying you could go there. What you're going to have to do here is probably get stronger by standing on the moonlight.
Yeah.
And then hit... Now you're a werewolf. Now you
okay. Yes, you alternate between your forms for this game because some forms do one thing and some forms do another. So it is pretty clever.
So we're trying to get that battery way
over to there. Yeah.
And so you got to push it around and figure out, the narrow quarters in the game where you're going to be able to fit. So this one's going to involve some back and forth. Okay, so I'm trying to figure out all this.
You try to catch up with the reading?
Yeah. Heroes Quest.
Now, I was going to try and find the credits
what gets made
for
this. Serpents of Seraph.
Wasn't this our composer that did the background to this? Because somebody said...
yeah, we had, I think so, Ryan Grogan.
Yes, was our composer, but it was because Andrew got us in touch with that.
Where do you find credits?
I thought that would do it, but it doesn't seem to. No,
That's
it's just going to give it the comic as we fill out the blanks on that. All right. No, that doesn't do it.
News. Somewhere around here must be credits.
You'd think, but...
Let's see, Amulet. Oh, that's your what you've done so far.
Okay. So, yeah, it's a pretty good system for keeping you track of what you're doing. Not so good for finding things like...
Quest log. Menu. I don't know how you get the credits. See?
I don't know. Menu?
Maybe you only get them at the beginning and the end.
So. Maybe so.
Anyway, but yeah, Ryan Grogan worked on this, and he was a very talented M for Move. M and Drag.
Oh, M and Drag?
M and Click. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So I have visualized all this as to where we need to go.
Where to go, yeah. And how to move. You could have pushed it to the side. I guess you can't. You do actually have to pretty much follow a path.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there's a complicated keyboard thing there. And to crack the safe, we probably need to be in mundane form.
Oh, is that a safe? I couldn't tell.
So this game was basically mostly done by Andrew with his brother, creating puzzles, I think, for it. Some of them. Was it N? I don't know if we can actually crack the safe or if we have to move it first.
I don't know. Is that a safe? I didn't recognize that as safe. No. It doesn't want us to let us interact with it. But this thing is the thing we're probably trying to do.
Perhaps. I need something more high-tech to get through the store. Something more high-tech. So we can go through the bottom door, so that's maybe we've done all we can do here.
Maybe.
The other possibility, I'm not sure if this will work, is let's try pulling instead of pushing.
Oh, yes.
Oh, look at that. That was too small for my crushing paws.
Ah, you couldn't get to the controls.
Okay. So we had to move the safe while a werewolf, and then we can crack the safe as a human magician. There's part of a comic tucked away in it. So we have another segment of the comic that kind of tells the rest of the story. So this was an intriguing game. It's an enormous amount of fun. If you haven't played MacGuffin's Curse, I recommend getting it. Do we have another copy of it we can give away? I'm not sure.
I don't know. You could check.
But I think all you can do at this point is go to the exit door. You can go see what that thing on the wall is.
We can go to the exit.
All right, and it auto saves your progress. So this is a very friendly and well designed game. Ooh. Okay, well, in that case, we've lost, so that's as far as we can go.
What? We can go back the way we came. There's another door.
We need something high-tech. Was there another door?
Yes, there's this door
okay.
over here.
And it's green for ones you haven't been to yet, and blue for going back.
Ah, I'm glad you
Blue
noticed
for ones that you've interacted with.
Okay, fine. So, yeah, the interface is simple. I would prefer point and click myself. I've always been annoyed with just keyboard only, but this would be a great game for playing on the
Switch.
On the Switch, before the Switch was made. So.
So that's MacGuffin's Curse.
Well, we could continue playing it. You just need
to. Oh yeah, but I
yak.
can't talk and play at the same time.
Okay, but there are windows here, so we can change. Well, yes, that's a problem. But you can yak and then play. I mean.
He's screaming for eternity in there. Cool. Dinosaur.
Yeah. Yeah, you'll want to pull that safe.
Whee! Do, 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 do. Do.
You can't pull it that way. You can't move it, so you can't pull. But you can't push. Then it becomes a nuisance. And an obstacle.
But doable. Ah, ha, ha, ha.
Yay! Big pile of treasure in here. Ooh, we got a big pile of treasure now.
Ah, I see. We have 360 gold bars.
Ooh.
Or they're probably very small bars.
They must be. So, at any rate, yes, we were talking about it takes a team.
It takes a team, and what game you end up with will be different depending on who the team.
And the music here was by, probably, since he was the one that introduced us to it, to Ryan Brogan, who wound up being our lead and our only musician for Road to Redemption.
Yeah, and then Ryan introduced us to some more people to do the sound effects.
Yes.
But Ryan was the composer for a... Oh, we've been both ways. There's a big pile of rocks there.
There's a pile of rocks that we need to figure out how to move the pile of rocks.
I think I know how to do that.
I think we need to, yes. Can you pull it?
Nope.
Can't pull. Can you? You need to be able to interact with it, though. Ah, you beat up on the rocks.
There we go.
Of course.
Discover new
Sure
interfaces
strong.
to go along.
One treasure, please. Okay. Hi.
So anyway, so Ryan was a composer for a award-winning children's television series in Australia, and for the kind of symphonic kind of soundtrack that we wanted for Hero U was perfect. We worked with a couple different people on summer days. One of which is Paul Corman, and Paul Corman is just released his adventure game that he's been working on. So, everybody is, everybody wants to be a game designer. That was the story when I was at Sierra. I talked with Bob Heitman and I were both working late last night. We can see there's a pool of moonlight there we can get into.
Yeah.
It seemed like being outdoors that everything's moonlight, but never mind
we
that.
probably don't want to put the battery over the water, though. I think that's a no-no, isn't it?
I don't know. Maybe it's not. Who knows?
All right.
Anyway,
you were talking about
so
Paul Corman's latest game.
Yeah, but one night when Bob Heitman and I were both in the office at like 10 at night and everyone else was gone, Bob said, what am I going to do? I have this problem that I gave a survey out to people. You can't use the amulet in that.
Interesting.
So, there you go. I have to find a different way to do this. And he said that he had given a questionnaire to all the programmers at Sierra since he had just taken over the engineering department and said, where do you see yourself next year, 2 years, 5 years? And he said, I don't have a single programmer working for me who wants to be a programmer. That every single one of them wants to be a game designer. So, what am I going to do without having any developers? Now there's a bridge across the water.
Yes, I know.
And I think the reason for that was that programmers and artists at Sierra were dramatically underpaid. And that the people that got the most payment and the most respect were the game designers. And so that everybody wanted to be a game designer because they saw that it's Emma and Arrow Key together.
And Arrow Key.
Yep. Where would you like it?
I want it down to the battery container down at the bottom. So at any rate, yes, everybody wanted to be a designer at Sierra. I think it's also that, why work at Sierra?
Yeah, because everybody wanted to make games.
Right.
So we had one programmer
Because after all, you weren't paying the greatest amount of money at Sierra relative to anywhere else in the field. But if you came to Sierra, you're there for the games. Clearly.
And the game designers, of course, were the ones who got the publicity and the respect. That's why you're all here.
Yeah. Thank you, Molly, for subscribing
for
yet again.
25 months.
Yes, my
more than
gosh.
2 years.
You'll be here forever, just like us.
Yeah.
Really.
Trapped in our old skins.
Yeah.
You don't need the console, do you?
I don't need the console. We use the
Yeah,
console.
you do.
We use the console
did?
to make the bridge. That's what the bridge, where the bridge came from.
I see.
Transsolar Games. Were you ever contacted by AGS, yes, etc. about collaborating?
Some of those.
Yes.
We cannot talk about specific deals and not deals, but yes, we had a few different companies that we talked to, and in particular, people were interested in having us be go-betweens with Activision Blizzard to make new Quest for Glory games. And the problem is that being a famous game designer and having $5 will get you a latte at Starbucks. But we didn't actually have any more power than anyone else. Why are you turning it off and on?
I was checking to see
it
what it did. It changes where the bridge is.
Where did it go? Where else did it go?
It goes. That's why you change it.
You have to watch. Oh,
there.
Okay.
So you toggle between bridge positions.
It's like a bridge over troubled water.
Uh-huh. So it becomes a tricky of how to get the battery around.
Yeah. And then, of course, you got to use that moonlight that's
41 as of yesterday. Get off my lawn. Happy belated.
Well, bald guy.
Yeah. Yes. Happy birthday. Welcome to the next,
The next decade.
Yeah.
So technically, the year 1. Well, of course, you're born at the year 0, but you don't really start your decade till the year 1.
Yeah.
So this was always the question between 1 AD and 1 BC. As there was no 0 in between, because 0 was not a numeric concept at the time. Obviously, people knew about the concept of nothing, but... Only Metroid, you should get together with OSU Brainiac. You're of a similar age and maybe belong together. We'll do our little matchmaker job here.
Right.
And
yes. It's hard to do this.
are you hitting up arrow? And
I was hitting up arrow, and I can't move that way.
that's because you need to do down. Oh, up.
I was hoping that was a square.
That's not.
Ag. All right. Well, this is. Okay.
Go. Oop, that's as far as it moves.
Uh-huh.
We can pull it back to the bridge instead. Go up and over and pull up. Now go around it and pull.
Oh, around there.
Yeah, pull it over the bridge.
We're stuck.
No, you're not stuck. You can walk on that path.
Oh, that is a path. Okay.
Yes, it's a path. That's not a wall. This is always the problem. So one of the problems in Sierra games was always.
Pull it.
All right, you want me to cooperate with you instead of tethering?
I can't pull.
Can't go any further?
Can't go that square. Yeah.
Oh, we'll have to go around it, but you can't go around it.
Mm-hmm.
So high, I can't get over it.
Can't pull.
Okay, push.
Uh-huh.
One more. And go up above it. And over and push. All right.
Really? Why would we do that? Now it's stuck.
Oh, well. Well, where else are you going to put it?
Good question. I think we have to pull it. No, pull. Pull.
That's your job. I'm just holding down an M key.
Oh, I didn't mean to. I think we have to go around. Let go.
This is cooperative gaming at its best, folks.
Yes, as we figure out what the heck are we doing here.
Zelda-style gameplay, yes. So the Zelda games were all about, moving barrels and stuff.
Is it?
I don't know what this is going to do.
Well, I need to get around to the other side, but we can't cross the river. I was going to try and push it around. So yes, this is really kind of each time it gets
a little bit more difficult as you go along.
As the environment changes, so we can go through those flowers.
I think there might be a way to get hints, but that would be cheap.
We could go through.
Yes,
that is not a.
Not a blockade.
Not a blockade, even though they look like it.
Okay.
That was bad because you can't tell.
That was actually exactly the topic I was on before I got distracted. Was like in Leisure Suit Larry, there were things where you would get to the edge of a scene and you'd be blocked, but there was no visible blockage. So one of the things that we made is kind of a point of honor. One more. Now I'll go up and over. Was to make sure that any place... Uh-oh. Strump's after us. Looks like you need some help. And you could say, yeah, help me. So that's their hint system.
Yeah.
Not right now.
Okay, so since we took too long at this game. So very puzzle. I mean, as you can see, it's really very friendly.
One more. Oop. You'll be able to go back by those flowers.
Yeah.
You can pull down one more.
I will.
Okay. Go around and change. But we're not doing a very good job of lecturing while I'm trying to watch this, while you're making me hold down buttons.
I know. If this were if we were reversing seats, maybe, so that one of us could man the keyboard and the other yak.
You could yak,
You're the one
and
that's
I
yakking.
could play the game.
You're yakking, so.
So anyway, so we made it so that every place. This game, what we're playing is MacGuffin's Curse, and let me type that in, please.
We just lost our game.
MacGuffin's Curse.
This sounds like co-op gaming with my wife. Well, it's only co-op gaming because,
I think we're competitive.
Because the keyboard is way over there. If it actually was a keyboard that could lift up and come over to my lap, then, my gosh.
Okay, except I kind of tied it there to make sure that I don't want it to move.
Oh, okay, fine. So,
that wire's in the place where it is. Yep.
All right, or we change seats.
We change seats.
Yes. So yes, this was the one of the inspirations for Road to Redemption.
Yeah. So we had been working on Hero U. It was originally called the School for Heroes.
Yes. And
started out as a website called theschoolforheroes.com, which no longer exists, so don't go to that one. Whose purpose was to promote the book, How to Be a Hero, that Lori was co-writing with Michelle Baker. And then the site became a thing in itself where Lori started role-playing as being the various professors and basically teaching people lessons on how to be a hero.
And a large role-playing group.
And then Michelle dropped out and got married, had a family, and various things. And the book never got published for various reasons. But the website went away because we lost track of the person who actually owned the website.
Yes, since we didn't have any control over it.
So we recreated it as a new website called HeroU.com. No, it wasn't that yet. It was called How to Be a Hero?
Oh, no, because we didn't use that. We used whatever it was. But it wasn't.
Maybe the School for Heroes was ours.
The School for Heroes was ours, yes.
Anyway, we ended up...
The School for Heroes.
The School for Heroes. And we eventually ended up setting up Hero U, but... No, I guess it was the School for Heroes first.
It was the School for Heroes.
And we had a blog on there that we called the Questlog blog. And that basically was just me nattering on subjects of politics and the environment and making games and all sorts of things.
Yes.
Some better, some others.
And it was also kind of like, that was more transsolar. We also had the School for Heroes actually had you selected as a student and put into a class, and then there were assignments for people as students at that school. So we were role-playing out another school, and then we decided...
And we discovered that doing that, we didn't have any time to actually make the game that we were... so we were actually going to... We were going to make a game, and we were going to use the website to promote both the game and the book.
Well, no. It was... No? We brought the game up to be... brought the website up to be the website, but then Bob Heitman got in touch with us, and we were going to do that.
Well, why don't you make a game?
And so, therefore...
But that wasn't actually...
We tried.
We missed a few stages here. We had actually Howard...
oh, yeah, Howard. What's his face? Somebody whose name doesn't matter because he was a jerk. But he got in touch with us. He was a jerk. There was no nows. And if
he ran a company that made adventure games and using Inform 6.
Yes, and he wanted us first of all to be a guest at his convention, and then he wanted us to create games with his for his.
Yeah, it would be his first outside developer games.
Yes. And so...
and we started work on that and didn't get very far in it.
Inform 6 was terrible for working in. And besides,
that means we're lazy.
The convention went to pot.
Yeah, the convention went to pot.
We didn't actually go to a convention, and then we found out he was being kind of a jerk. So that idea did not make fruition. But we did try, and we were starting to do work on what the game would be in a text adventure. Mm-hmm. And then when we went to Bob Heitman, who created another system,
we said, well, let's put it up on the web.
Uh-huh.
And then he had the idea, or Lori had the idea of mixing in graphics and text. that we would basically have a scene with, maybe a character in it, but no animation.
Yeah, a vignette style, and then interactions.
And the idea was that in the text messages that certain words would be highlighted, and those would be hyperlinks to the next action of the game.
So yes, and we worked on that for a while, but that was really, really cumbersome to work on too. And it wasn't...
And Bob came up with an editor for that, and Lori didn't like it because the branching basically had 3 parallel branches, but you couldn't branch out from there. Yeah. So it was basically 3 lines going at any time. And
so,
that was
on
too
all
restrictive.
those years that we never did anything, we were doing a lot
doing
of
stuff. Yep.
It just did not actually ever
turn into a commercial product.
Oh no, he's bugging us again.
Yeah, we sat here too long. We're obviously lost.
Yes. But yeah.
We can just let it sit there.
We can. We can let him bug us. I don't know. I don't approve of cigarette smoking and crummy guys, so.
Oh, well. I think they smoke a lot in Australia, maybe. But anyway, Strump is certainly... he's living in his van. Come on.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's just like a, X-Files. Not right now. You could do quit bugging me, and then he'll never come back.
Oh, well, yeah.
Yeah, you quit bugging me.
Long and grinding.
Geez, Strump. Just get off my nose. You sure? Yes!
Yes, I'll use the radio. Very good. Now we're in.
I'm watching you, MacGuffin. So now we can sit there forever.
All right. The long and winding road to redemption. Exactly. This is kind of what it is.
Now, there's some interesting stuff going on here with the music you might not be aware of. But the fact that it is continuously looping, there is music playing all the time, but it's essentially more of an ambience. Ambience? Yes. It's ambient. It is an ambience that is playing, and therefore can go on forever while you're sitting here not actually playing the game. Otherwise, if you had, like a musical piece you'd hear on the radio, 3 minutes go by and it's gone. Hey.
We did it. We walked across the road. We found the door. We have opened the door. Oh, yes, you have to go back. Yeah, back to the moonlight. Hit our inn. And then go back and open the door. So, yay, we have successfully navigated
another room. Some more puzzles. Long and winding road to Road to Redemption. So actually, Road to Redemption wasn't Road to Redemption at first. And it wasn't Hero U. It was the School for Heroes. And it was the Wizard game. And we wrote the whole story for a wizard. And came up with the characters and a couple of the puzzles. And then I said, well, if we have a school for heroes and you're a wizard, everybody's going to say that this isn't an original thing. This is a copy of Harry Potter. And I later decided that being a new version of Harry Potter isn't necessarily such a bad thing. That's a green button. That's interesting. I don't know what that is. Looks like a button.
It does look like a button to me. I can't see.
But we can't move that battery right now because we're not strong enough.
No, but we can't.
And there's a safe over there, so I think you have to.
There is no interaction with anything.
That's because you're not
I guess
werewolf.
you're only one werewolf that we have.
And you probably have to move the safe out of the way first because later on you probably won't be able to.
You can't.
I bet you're going to have to move that safe.
Where would you move it?
Over here somewhere.
How would you move that?
You turn to a werewolf and you move it.
Okay, but you can pull, I guess. Okay, fine. At any rate, you were talking about...
Wizard's Way.
Wizard's Way.
Which I don't think we were calling that at that point. What did we call it? Do we have a name for it? Anyway, it's the School for Heroes. And Nona Perel was a character name we came up with later.
No, we came it up when we were dealing with Heitman. I had the whole story.
Oh, did we have Nona's name?
Yes.
Okay.
We had Nona.
I know I invented the name. Because I rode like the non-Perel candies when I was a kid.
Yes, well...
She is without parallel. The safe goes on Bhutan. Is that a cigarette lighter?
stuck with that there.
What? No. You go up above it. You turn towards it. No, you pull it.
Oh, I keep forgetting the road is not a blockade.
Now you can go around it and push it. So, blocking that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so to her that road looks like a wall. This is the problem with 2D art.
Oh, that's right. Because
That was always my problem at Sierra, is trying to figure out what the art was actually supposed to be. I don't know where you actually want it. But...
I want it there for now.
Okay. I can go move battery if you wanted.
Maybe that's a pressure plate? No.
Ah, we're heavy.
We couldn't do it in the first one.
Go
I
back.
thought it would have been
Go
the
back.
battery.
Yeah, that bridge. This bridge opened up here when you stand on the
I
pressure
know.
plate.
So we're gonna have to push something on. We'll have to push that safe.
We'll have to push the safe onto the pressure
first
plate.
I need to get the battery out of there.
Which means it's actually going to have to go back to the square to the right at some point, but not necessarily now.
There.
Let's keep going with the battery.
Uh-huh.
And you have to move. Oh. Push that safe out of the way. Just push it all the way, get it out of the way.
Okay, that's
all right,
true.
now we can pull the battery down and go around it and push it down and go around it, push it over. So these dukes, keep getting more and more complex. I don't know. We're gonna actually pull down a square.
Yeah, there we have it in the square.
We're gonna have problems here.
Well, we're gonna have to shift.
Okay, and push back.
I'm gonna leave it there for now.
Oh, okay. Oh, you're shifting.
Shifty, yes, shifty.
Boom.
Opening the safe, changing the position.
Yeah.
And
you can hit an N key. It's not
I
that far.
look how far I'm reaching to hit the keyboard, Corey.
Short people got. Oh,
Yeah, well,
Randy something.
Newman.
Human.
All right.
Ooh. Locked away your button.
Huh.
But you opened up another pathway and
No,
you
it
closed
did
off
something
stuff
different this time.
Because we are going to have to get that battery down there at some point.
I think we need to
This
move
is
the
hard.
safe back onto that button. I think that's what the thing is.
Oh yes, move the safe to the button, which means change your form.
So, not...
But we're doing a rather disjointed job of telling stories here because
I
of
know
trying to
it,
play
but
games
we
at the same
said
time.
this is a play game day. Jeez.
Huh? What? Okay, M, not N.
Oh, okay. No, can't do that. There.
Ha! I did that one thing.
Okay.
That one little thing.
Now we can move the bridge. I mean, the battery across the bridge now.
Perhaps that's what we need to do to get it around that. Push, push, push.
Okay. We have advantage to maneuver through this room.
So we don't actually care about that wall. It can stay there.
Yeah, it can stay there. Oh, we're just getting out of this room.
Another room solved. What's our percentage? We're up to 4% of the game. So you can see it's quite a large game.
Yep. All right.
What's he doing here? End of the line, shorty. Yeah, when do I see my latest trick? Finish?
No, we're gonna have to get to the moonlight change. At any rate, before we do, let us continue to talk. A cache of
Continue
cash.
to yak.
Yeah.
A cache of cash. Yes, we had a cache of cash,
The
which
safe
is why we
goes
have all
on.
these gold bars.
Bhutan, yes.
I keep thinking butane lighters as opposed to Bhutan, the country, which.
Oh well.
What happened to kill us?
No, the moon
Went away?
The moon went away. Moonlight went away.
You know, you got really pretty eyes there. Has anyone ever told you that? No one is still alive. Gulp.
Well, we have to go through the... What do you want? Yes, we can...
What do you want? Take a guess, punk. Money? Oh, I want, right? I'll get bad news for you. I'm flat broke. Never mind all the gold coins. What? I'm serious. The crows want to beat someone up. They don't check how much gas they get yet. Nice night. Better when the moon was out. There we go. Yeah, the moon's back out. You're in for it now.
Did Alphonse send you? Did we need...
No, we didn't do that. You're not so tough. Take a look. Okay, now we are tougher than him.
Okay, so now...
Anyway, so games are total chaos. They are, they can be straightforward, but if they're straightforward, they're basically sequels, and they aren't all that creative and innovative. This one is a very creative and innovative game that has multiple things going on. First, it's a Zelda-style block-moving game. Second, it's the two forms with different abilities. Third, it's got the comic book pages as storytelling.
Which kind of is like your favorite puzzle game, Fool's Errand, in which you're picking up pieces of the puzzle as you go along.
Sort of, but it's actually more like Mobius and the Jane Jensen games.
I don't know.
It did the graphic novels. Prepare to die. I've stared death in the face more than once before, and it sure didn't look like some hairy mutt.
Casual threat.
Time for this. Grawr. Oh, come on. Nothing. I got something for you, you mangy mongrel. Oh, end the game. We have died. Good thing we saved.
Okay.
Oh, my head. What happened? Fortunately, it's a LucasArts style game and you don't have death.
So at any rate, you were
I haven't got anyone to type anything new for a while.
rubber tree. Yeah, it was a rubber tree. Okay.
So that's some of MacGuffin's Curse, accountability, and Kickstarter.
All right. So you were yakking about how we were now on Road to Redemption, how we were on the pre-Road to Redemption.
Yeah, so pre-Road to Redemption. We're a school for heroes. We decided to age the hero, make it a college student rather than a high school student, so it wouldn't be like Harry Potter. We had a female character, which would have been different, more like Hermione than Harry.
Yes, we had a Hermione-like character.
And more of a real heroine rather than an accidental hero, which Harry Potter is.
Well, not initially. I mean, it's player characters, so the player has to,
Figure out what to do.
Figure out what to do. And we had the entire story for for Wizard Way plotted out, and we had all the characters ready for it. I mean,
Which
I had everything
I think plotted out. You had about 2 scenes of it.
I had the story, Corey.
Did you?
That's what I spent all the time. I didn't write it down.
Ah, it was in your head.
It was all in my head.
She claims to have had the story.
I had an entire story. I had a cast of characters. I was all ready to go. And then Corey and
Bob.
Huh?
Oh, right.
No. We're talking now.
Andrew?
Branson. Yeah, Andrew.
Oh, Andrew came along and said, I want to work with you on a game.
And actually, Michael, too, thought it would be better to do the rogue game first. So it had no confusion with Wizard
There was
Way.
convention about
Wizard
whether we were calling it a rogue game because it was a roguelike, but
Yeah, it was a roguelike game. And make it a rogue because that was the most popular character.
Yeah, and
you could have this full screen since we're yakking now and you aren't actually playing the game.
Webcam. So Rich Gen X typed, "The face of death is a skull with tiny blue supernovas as eyes, and he talks like this." Maybe. Or he talks like this.
Okay.
Not for those of us living on Round World.
So, yeah.
So is that a Discworld Face of Death?
Yes, that's a
I didn't remember the tiny blue supernovas as eyes.
Well, that's the only... They did describe it in 1 or 2 books. I don't know. Because, I read it so fast. I don't pay attention to details.
Okay, this chair is not locking
like
properly.
So any rate, so they overrode my idea that we actually had a whole story to do and we could just put it in. And we're going with the rogue game, and we were doing the rogue game as a puzzle game initially.
Yeah. And inspired by MacGuffin's Curse, we said, okay, we can basically, instead of having traditional, role-playing game style combat, where it's all about, swords and spells and stuff, then instead it would be about objects. That the rogue, it was not super powered, but he had traps and poisons and gooey stuff and things like that.
Being able to sap somebody, set up your traps, get them to come towards you, then
step into your trick them into the trap.
And so it would be a puzzle-solving game where you were supplying the layout of how the things would interact.
And we did a little bit of that with the golem room, where you're basically kiting the golem around the room and using booms and stuff, or trying to blow it up or trying to get it stuck in place.
But when
Screen crash! Oh no, we're refreshed.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So yes, we had it figured out as a different
game. And I think it would have been a fun game.
It would have been. And we were going to still do the combat that way, but there were complications with everything. Yeah.
So, lost our programmer, lost our lead artist.
We hired somebody to be the combat designer, and they didn't do much. And but they were coming up with stats for monsters. We had our monsters.
Yeah, our combat expert that we hired worked for us for about a month, and then decided that he needed to do something else. There were health issues. And
there were several months of it, actually.
Oh, was it? Okay.
And then we had our Unity expert who wanted to run the show and basically antagonized a lot of people. And he was a good guy, but he couldn't. And
then we had a couple people working for us that had full-time jobs, and were basically not quite putting in enough time to get stuff done here.
So we went through quite a few people on the road to
we had a total. We had an average about 10 to 12 people at any given time on Rogue Redemption.
No, not really.
Yes, we did. I do the accounting.
Okay,
Thank you.
Fine.
An average of 10 to 12 people at any given time in the project, but the total number of people who worked on it was 30.
I would have said that we were down to 9 that actually were on a project at a time.
You're welcome to say that, okay. But I did the accounting.
But we did have several people that were several programmers. We had 1 musician, and we had 3 artists.
But went through about 8 artists in the course.
Yes, we did.
3.
Right. Terry Robinson left the project.
We had Paul Bowers did set up all the 3D art initially, and got us. He did like the catacombs and stuff.
Mostly, he did our character design, our talkers.
Yeah, but I thought he also did the 3D stuff.
No, he wasn't our 3D artist.
All right. Anyway, we can't even keep track of them all.
I can, but
we had a former Sierra developer that was on characters for a while, but. Just wasn't getting them to work out with us,
so that character went off. We had we then got
we had a short-term programmer from New Zealand who did the Trap Tapper,
yes,
and something else, and he was fantastic, but he needed to earn a living, and we didn't pay very well.
No. So yes, we went through people, a lot of artists. We wound up with Eric Barnes and J.P. Selwood, and then we brought on.
On the program side, the two main ones were Joshua Smith and Sydney.
Mm-hmm.
And Joshua actually, both of them dropped off the project at various points and later came back. Joshua, I had been trying to push to get to do all the combat stuff, and he said, "Yeah, I'll do that," but every time there was something else
that had to be done.
Desperately needed to be done.
So he was generally the systems programmer, and we're stuck in systems programmer land where something had to be fixed.
And he was absolutely right. All that needed to be done, and we just really didn't have a big enough team. And talking with Ken Williams on Colossal Cave, which in some ways is a much smaller, simpler game, but they had it on many different platforms and VR and everything else. He had a huge team and more, 2 or 3 times our budget to get that done. Of course, our budget wasn't really our budget. Our spend was about 2 or 3 times our budget.
Yeah, well, that's why we had 2 Kickstarters, and then
And then we got an outside investor come in and give us some money, and we'll eventually pay back part of the money he gave us. So.
Yeah.
So it was quite a adventure.
It was. It was.
And part of it, of course, is that Sierra, everyone we worked for were tyrants or tyrants, as the case may be. Tyrant is how I've always pronounced it. And it's tyranny, though.
It is tyranny, but it was
tyranny,
tyrant.
But I think it's tyrant.
Yeah.
Anyway, Bob Heitman was a tyrant as a workaholic software engineer, and expected everyone else working for him to also be workaholics. And that's exactly what we did. So we put in pretty much 50 or 60-hour weeks all the time when we were at Sierra. We got the jobs done, and we got the games out, most of them in a year, and then later on in 2 or 3 years. But that was basically by killing ourselves getting the games out. So as more mature people, Lori and I in our 50s, when we started out in this project with Hero U, said, we don't want to kill ourselves anymore. And we discovered that, it was just kind of, Cosmic Void. There was a thing about the EA Widow, which was the thing about the Electronic Arts, the guy that was working 60-hour weeks, and his girlfriend or wife started writing about how she was the EA Widow and tried to get some reforms there. But for the most part, the 60-hour weeks at Sierra were not because the company was pushing you to work all those hours. It was basically you're trying to get a job done, and there was never enough time to do everything you needed to do.
But you were pushed.
Yes, as Murdoctopus says, easier to be a workaholic on a labor of love.
It is, but most people were not in a labor of love, and there was mandatory overtime.
Later on.
No!
Okay.
In your game!
On Heroes Quest?
No, not the original. But by the
time
we got to
Quest for Glory 5.
No. By the time we got to Dr. Brain.
Oh, Castle Dr. Brain?
Yes. And the
EcoQuest.
Yes.
EcoQuest was the one that. So Castle Dr. Brain actually shipped under budget and ahead of schedule.
Yes.
And then we got Mixed Up Fairy Tales out shortly after that, under budget and ahead of schedule. And then we had EcoQuest. And EcoQuest, they had given us a 5-month schedule to do EcoQuest, and at that point I was managing all of the educational developers, and I said, someday we'll be able to do games in 5 months, but Sierra has never, in the time I've been here, shipped a game in 5 months. You cannot budget on the basis of something you've never done before. And they said, well, get it done. So we had, people brought in from other teams and people working massive numbers of overtime, and I got in trouble because as the programmer manager that after working a 24-hour shift, they wanted me to stay overnight to make it 36 hours, and I said I can't do that. And they said, well, you're not a team player.
Yeah, and you got called in to they wanted you to come in, and you said no.
Yep.
So yes,
and I did actually. Eventually, I broke down, came back in, and
It was too late.
I brought in the Subway sandwiches and stuff.
Yeah,
for
but
everybody.
it was too late. You had
Yep,
destroyed.
I had not been a team player.
Yeah.
And that was because after I had worked all night, then Bill Davis and Bill Skirvin decided that, oh yeah, it's time to put in the all-nighter.
Yeah. So it was always mandatory overtime for these projects towards the end. And it was always a huge pressure cooker situation.
Yeah, so there was just too much to do. I mean, we were completely unrealistic with Heroes Quest and with the subsequent Quest for Glory games. As everybody else said, we were crazy. First of all, we were crazy to integrate adventure game and role playing because they said those are two distinct markets. Adventure gamers do not play RPGs. RPG gamers do not play adventure games. So you're making a game for no purpose. The adventure gamers will hate it. The role playing gamers will hate it. Then they said, well, wait a sec. You're saying the player can be a fighter or a magic user or thief and different story elements, different animation. You know, what are you, insane? Yeah, we were. So that was a game that could not possibly have been made, and the making it involved basically massive overtime and a lot of big bug fixing. So Murdoch says the best kind of crazy adventure RPG is the greatest genre. It is now, but at the time it didn't exist.
Except in our minds. That was what the game should be.
And
like.
OSU says the irony of my science lab jobs, general overtime is a giant hell no. And there's a very good reason for that. Let's say you're working in a chemistry lab and you are coming in there on 6 hours of sleep and working for 12 hours straight. That's downright dangerous. You're going to make mistakes.
Yes, it is dangerous. It's dangerous for computer programmers to do it. And of course, it never really works.
Yeah. It works to a degree. Okay, 45 to 50 hours is actually somewhat sensible.
Yes, but still, people will screw around during that time. Yeah. They cannot work consistently.
But when they went to mandatory 60 hours and our productivity went down, then they decided what they needed was more hours. They made it a mandatory 72 hours.
Right. So they.
And what happened was basically people played Doom, and they they had some kind of racing game that they installed in the programmer room, and they just put that aside every time a manager showed up.
Brainiac says, yes, part of it is the danger, but a lot of it is the money coming from the grants. Yes, yeah. If you have to be paid, my God, no. You know, and if it's dangerous, why do they let doctors work 12 to 16 hours, sometimes even 18 plus? Because
they don't have enough doctors.
They don't have enough doctors. And you have companies that won't hire more doctors. So it's a bad situation.
Well, salaried in the U.S. system for people from other countries here that may not realize, the U.S. has the concept of exempt and non-exempt employees. And hourly workers are non-exempt, which means that you must pay them overtime if they work more than 40 hours a week. And it has to be at least time and a half overtime. And then after a certain number of hours, it goes up to double time. And you cannot require them to work overtime. Exempt employees was designed for managers and professionals, and says basically because they're getting a presumably much larger salary, that they are exempt from the rules of hourly workers, and therefore you can require that they work overtime. There's no pay for overtime, etc. So Sierra merely paid people the amount of money they would normally pay an hourly worker, but said you're on salary and you're exempt.
Yeah.
And back then, $20,000 a year was considered a huge salary that only a professional would get, and they could pull that off.
Edenway says the late 80s may have been about the end of when Sierra was able to make more experimental games, so perhaps HQ seems fairly experimental as a hybrid. Manhunter was an interesting concept, or even Police Quest with all of its procedures may not work as a game now, unless it's something small.
Again, it's a question of what team you have. Police Quest could work fine with the right team making the right kind of game. And it might not have had that feel of being an adventure game. But they could have done things, just like MacGuffin's Curse was basically hinting by, giving you flashing arrows and bringing up the hint system and so on. They could have made a police procedural game that, as you're about to do the wrong thing, could say, "Oh, you better check your procedural manual. Don't do that." And you could have done a little more handheld holding on that.
Yeah. At the same job I mentioned, the graphic designers were paid hourly, so they generally got out of extra hours because of overtime.
Yeah, company didn't want to pay them.
Correct, and that's usually the reason. But the problem is, if you're doing a game, you have to have your artists produce the art so that the programmers can program. Likewise, they have to have that design there. So
and the game has a set date that they've set up for marketing that it must be ready for that date, which means it really needs to be ready 2 months before that date. We used what we called the backwards calendar. So we said if we want the game to ship on, we want it to be in stores on November 20th, then we might need to ship it by November 6th. And that means that you have to do the box production and so on in early October. And you worked back from there and said, basically it came out that the games needed to be completed in August in order to be out for Christmas. The November 20th was because Christmas in the game industry is not Christmas. It is Thanksgiving, Black Friday.
Yeah, you needed to be out for
You
Black
need to be
Friday.
on the store shelves in time for Black Friday, the day after Thanksgiving, or you lost, like 30 to 50% of your sales.
Yeah.
So it was a disaster if the game was still being worked on in September and October. It was not going to be on store shelves in time. They get around some of those by doing like express shipping, which of course raised costs quite a bit. But we ran into trouble on Shannara because the marketing director there, they had set a date for it, and the marketing director had arranged for end caps and shelf talkers for the game, which was a huge, like $200,000 co-payment, aka bribes, to the stores to do that. And basically, if you're not on the shelf the week you say you will be, you lose that. You still pay the $200,000 and you don't get the space.
That's why it's more of a bribe than it is for a transaction.
You're not really paying for services. You are bribing them to let you get the premium space. So when you see a game with premium presentation in a store, but those of you who remember stores.
Yeah, those old timely things.
What they call end cap, which was a special display at the end of an aisle. The publisher paid for those.
Yeah.
And they paid quite a bit of money to get those premium placement.
Okay, well, Berniak says it's very much a promotion for my boss and myself, getting to avoid dealing with the time clock. Yep. But it's still a raise, and my position at the lab is pretty much...
Oh, going to salary, I believe you should refer to.
Yes, that was. Yes,
it's still pretty much a rough 40-hour-a-week one, so I don't expect a huge issue.
Yeah.
Very exploitable in general, though. Yeah, especially by game companies. It's like one of the bylines I had was never expect anyone in the game development industry to be a professional, including me.
Yeah. Audio Eric says, good afternoon, everyone. Greetings, Audio Eric. And Murdoch says, sounds like a fair deal. Yes. Or Molly's go back to the other thing. You could do Papers, Please, which is a unique game with very primitive art style, but it really worked well.
Yeah, the trick is, and that's why indie games are the big thing right now, is that people come up with ideas for games, and you go to a publisher like Activision Blizzard, and they say, basically, our products right now are Candy Crush Saga, Call of Duty, and World of Warcraft. And they say, what are you going to give us that's bigger than any of those?
Yeah.
And you say, well, we can't promise that our games will make you $1 billion. And they say, next.
Yeah.
Or so what you sell them on is you come to them and say, I've got Call of Duty, but it's a Call of Duty set in Ukraine and the current war in Ukraine. You get to play that out. They say, wow, that's really cool and innovative. Do that.
Yeah.
And then they give you your $100 million budget so you can make that game.
No, they don't do that anyway. It's a nice theory.
If they buy it at all. And actually, they won't buy it from an outsider at all.
Yeah.
they'll go
But
to one
they
of,
might if it was an in-party, in-game,
In-house, yes.
in-house thing.
They'll go
might.
to somebody and say, "Oh, you finished your game. I guess we have to fire you." Well, we can't do that. So instead, we'll give you a new project. You're on this project. Here's the project.
Yes.
And the management will say, "I know.
Yes.
We'll make a really innovative game, Call of Duty, but it's Ukraine.
Candy Crate. It's Candy Crush versus Call of Duty.
Oh, there we go.
There we go. We'll combine those two genres.
Candy Crush with AR-15s.
Yeah. So anyway,
you get to really crush that candy.
But the thing is,
it's very hard to innovate when the companies basically are disdaining.
When the company can must make $1 million or they're dying.
Yeah.
So they cannot afford to waste their time or money on minor projects.
So indie gamers have to decide where's the money coming from.
Yeah.
And they have to decide what is your passion? What kind of game do you really want to make? And some of those have been really cool, like Hollow Knight, or Shovel Knight. Those were ones that were basically taking the limitations of pixel art and turning into a virtue.
Yes. Aidenway says, but the thing which is great with indie games now is that one can try out new and novel concepts without having to risk millions of dollars of a budget.
Unless you're as inefficient as Lori and I are.
Yes. And then you...
Or Ken and Roberta.
Haha, I was one of those store things last week for the night release of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. You went to an honest-to-goodness store? A real store? A computer store? Or just a big box store like...
Yeah, when one of the Harry Potter books came out, we went down to the Barnes & Noble or whatever it was store that Michelle was working in. And that was basically... They had a big party there, and everybody came in costume.
Oh, well, we did it to the local bookstore for one
of
the
releases. That was one of them. That was down in Long Beach.
Yes, I know. There was a Long Beach one, but before that was the one in our Oakhurst thing, and that's where people actually came into contact in a little store that was the,
little strip mall store in a small town.
Yeah, and everybody showed up for the midnight release of Harry Potter. Yes.
Right after, they weren't allowed to sell it before midnight. But they had the boxes.
Yes.
So
Murdochtopus had to wait for his pre-order delivery, which was Monday. Hard to avoid spoilers. That's always the trick. Yeah.
We did the Lord of the Rings one. It was Star Wars also, but we did Lord of the Rings when they were coming out with the third film. What they did is they did a marathon showing of the extended editions of the first two films, running up till 11 o'clock, and then in between they had local fan groups doing skits and contests and stuff, and they, gave away one of the, Darth Vader stand-up cardboard things from the lobby and stuff like that, and then just after midnight, we watched
Return of the King.
Return of the Jedi, or Return of the King, yeah.
Yes, it was not the Jedi.
It was Return of the King, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Fake spoiler, Zelda is actually a sled named Rosebud.
Ah.
Zelda is your father, Luke, yes.
And Zelda is not about Zelda.
Yes, ruined forever. Oh, no way, what a revelation. This changes everything. It was GameStop, yes, the sole remaining real game store out there.
So 3 kinds of indie game developers. One of them is basically students, either high school or university students that get together with some other students and want to make a game. And
they have good resources. They have the best resources.
For students?
The students, especially if they're doing the computer.
You probably get free computer time, and your parents are probably paying your bills.
Yeah. It's best, all of you've waited too late. If you wanted to be a game designer, you should have done it when you could.
So that was how Ultima started out, is Lord British, Richard Garriott, started out in high school doing this game called Akalabeth. I think it was done in BASIC, but I'm not sure. He might have learned pretty soon on. He learned assembly language and did some more sophisticated stuff. And he did successive games of that leading up to Ultima. And then got a contract with Sierra to do Ultima 2. Where he's trying to get back to the desktop.
And I lost it.
You lost it.
I
Click
did.
on the rightmost
I have
icon.
to do it. Yes, I have to bring it back up. Okay, I thought we would just actually.
At least you get music this way. Oh
Yeah.
my head! What happened?
Yes, just keep going, Koryak.
Lord British started out as a high school student doing his fun amateur indie games, and then got a publisher contract, and then decided he was getting too small percentage for that, so then he started Origin Systems, making the games himself, and that eventually got acquired by Electronic Arts. Will Wright started up his studio doing SimCity, and then did The Sims, and then got acquired by Electronic Arts, and had much bigger budgets but less control over the games. So a lot of games that started as indies became the big games. Heroes Quest started out as a relatively big budget game, but a big budget at that point was, $100,000, $200,000. And yeah, we've had some inflation then, but that would still only be like $1 million game today, which is very small compared to the budgets of later games. Why am I doing all the talking when I have the cough and the sore throat?
You're the one that wanted to.
Ah,
I mean, it's a voluntary thing. Yeah.
silly me.
Yes, that's just you.
But yeah, indie gaming, so that's one category. Second category is where we are is former game developers who are now going into the business for themselves. And I should tell the story about the brass cannon,
Oh, why should you tell that one?
because that's all about indie game designers. So there was this guy who had a part-time job, and every week he would go up to the city hall where they had a big brass cannon left over from the war, and his job was to go up and polish that cannon. One day, a friend of his saw that he wasn't there anymore, and went looking for him. And in front of his house, he was opening up a huge package and unwrapped all the paper and twine, and there was a brass cannon on his front lawn. And he said, what's that for? And the guy said, well, after all those years working for the man, I decided to go into business for myself. So he's now polishing the brass cannon on his front yard. So that's what indie gaming be like.
You're doing brass cannons on your own?
Yeah, you're polishing brass cannon. You're doing a completely useless task that is even more useless when you're doing it on your own. The third category is people like Stephen Alexander, who are big fans of adventure games, and he decided that he wanted to make his own adventure game, and he came up with, he was a fan of Quest for Glory, so he decided to make Quest for Infamy, which was basically, what if your character was a rodder instead of a hero? That's red.
I know.
Surely there must be some way to unlock it. There's a mailbox there. You could look in the mailbox and see if there's anything cool.
I looked at it already.
Did you?
I did. I went in. It reminds me.
I'd better cancel my subscription to Propaganda Monthly. It's just getting weird. Today it would be QAnon. This game was a few years before QAnon. Murdoctopus says, my first attempt at making games was QBasic at around 10 or 12 years, making a text adventure inspired by Quest for Glory. Cool. So yeah, I actually started out making, I was playing Dungeons & Dragons, and I was about, 20. I built my first CPM S100 bus computer, and I was making Dungeon Master assistants in BASIC. So basically, I had a big database that had like all the monsters from the new monster manual that had just come out, and rules for coming up with lists of monsters. You could say, all right, I want an outdoor adventure with level 3 monsters. Let's generate something random. Which was mostly how D&D scenarios were made those days. It was all random stuff. And then I tried to sell it to TSR years later, and they weren't interested. They ended up doing their own in-house thing, and I didn't realize quite how amateurish a company TSR was. That's back where you were.
I know. We had to leave. We already talked to our thing.
There's another store up there.
we've been in there once.
Oh, you have you? Okay.
But maybe now that we've talked to our people.
Knitting fixtures, the pawn shop.
Yeah. You
There's
wouldn't talk
probably
to us
something.
before.
There's probably something really important in there. It's not about people. Give me my amulet. I've got a holiday book. There we go. Clue.
Yeah. Or our next mission.
So, but here you're getting the story is expanding, and you're getting missions from it, and so I think this is just a really well-made game. So yeah, you go in the basic, and then you decide that's not fast enough, so you start programming in C or assembly language. There's a lot of stuff there you can interact with.
No, I can't. It's all Harvey stuff. Yes.
Yeah, but some might be important. So this game's starting to get complicated at this point. You can go north, I think, takes you to the mansion.
Well, it takes you, yes. I always thought that making a game should require a project for computer, science majors, just because of the immense number of condition checking, error checking, and logic required.
Well, that assumes, of course, that the professor knows something about games and game development. They do have those, but they usually have like a game development curriculum, and the problem is that phrase game development, a lot of people think that's synonymous with game design, but it's not. Game development, has the system engineers, the scripters, the background artists, the character designers, the animators, the riggers, the 3D roles there, the musicians, the sound people, sound design, the managers, and that's why your typical, even in the adventure game days, we started out with about I think 10 or 12 people on the original team for Heroes Quest. By the time we were up to Quest for Glory 5, we had close to 100 people on the team, all those different roles. Now, for a student game, if you make basically a subset of a game, you're basically coming out with, interesting rules. So one of the things, I went to a game jam one time, and I was completely ill-prepared. All the people there had planned out their games, and they were experts in a given engine like Unity or Unreal or one of those, and they were ready to make a game. And they put the artists and the programmers and the designer together. I came in as a designer, but teams didn't really want a designer. They wanted to make their own games. But one of the things there was a guy that basically had a thing where you could jump up on different things in your, and you had basically rectangles of different sizes that you could interact with. And I later saw that game, and he made it into, I made some suggestions for, how he could make it more interesting, because he just had effectively a toy there and how to make it into a game. And a few years later, I saw it, and he actually had incorporated some of my suggestions and had an interesting game. I do not know what it's called, or I would have said to you. So, if you're doing a game design major or game development major, then yes, you're going to have some game projects. And usually what you'll do is your first or second year, you'll have a small subset of a game. I took a computer science course at UCSB in my senior year, and the first quarter we studied compilers, and then in the second and third quarters we made our own compiler. Another one we studied operating systems, and we made our own computer operating system. Back then, you didn't have a dominant operating system. They were looking at, I can't remember the name of the one we were doing, but it was a mainframe operating system that had multiple layers of security and so on. And it was only really in my junior or senior year that Unix started coming into schools and being a big thing. And Linux was much later. So the idea was structured project. Another course I took was teaching the Pascal language, but the professor didn't know Pascal either, and he stayed basically 2 weeks ahead of the students in the workbook. But he gave us various interesting Pascal programs to write. One of them was he had visited the Banff Hotel in I think it's British Columbia, Canada, And so there's this huge hotel, and he had us program a random walk and try to see, how many rooms you could visit in the hotel doing this random walk algorithm. So, these were interesting projects that taught you the fundamentals of computer science in the context of doing something kind of useful. Was it Alberta? Not sure. Anyway, BANFF. Major resort town. Banff Hotel, that's what I said. But that was just a pretext for learning the concept of a random walk, learning how to do procedural coding, how to do loops, and so on in Pascal. Oh, Banff is in Alberta. Okay. One of those provinces towards the west side of Canada. I lived in British Columbia, worked at the Dairyland Cooperative, which is Fraser Valley Milk Producers Association, was one of my first projects. In school, I was also working as a consultant for people in the geography department that were having to program for geography but didn't really know anything about programming. So they were working in BASIC. David TKI, the speedrunner, says, I used to mess around with QBasic but never made anything substantial with it. My older brother made a Mega Man clone of the Lemming as the protagonist and Elementals as Robot Masters. So the trick is to start out by making a clone of a game you like, but then to go beyond it and say, okay, what's a more original concept? What's something that I think would be fun? Quest for Glory did not, is not the be-all and end-all of games. It's just an idea that we had, and it was originally Hero's Quest, and it was how to be a hero. That really is, the same thing as any of the coming of age books. That's what Harry Potter series is, a coming of age story, which is one of the major literature categories, and it's certainly a major game category. So a lot of the adventure games are basically starting out with a character who doesn't know much and gets better as the game goes on. Role-playing games generally had progression in the form of stats and so on. But you're better off making a small game, get a concept, get a game mechanic, like this one is the mechanic of pushing and pulling boxes, and learn how to do that, and then figure out how to draw a map. When my first job at Sierra was to do the Atari ST interpreter for SCI, but you don't do that in one piece, you'll never finish. So Bob Heitman says, okay, here's an Atari ST, here's the manuals. What you want to do is paint a pixel. Put down a specific color on one pixel of the screen, and that will show that you can do something in any location. And then I could do drawing by drawing on multiple pixels. You can learn how the color system works by mapping colors. Then SCI basically, had routines for like filling in a block, and you had to draw a line of pixels and make multiple rows and so on within your rectangle that you were filling in. So by doing this step by step and doing very, very small pieces, that was my answer at the time to how to make a game, and the answer is one tiny little step at a time. Have to get her a pocket watch. Oh, it's a magical pocket watch. QBasic is antithetical to making serious programs. I have some idea what I'm doing now and have for fun, try to make more. It all depends what you're doing. Again, people, when they say, I want to make games, they're trying to jump in and make Doom or World of Warcraft, or Quake, Call of Duty all at once. And they don't realize that what you really want to do is make a tiny little thing. Make the board game Clue or Monopoly first. Make something small and simple and straightforward, and then use those building blocks to make something bigger. Oh, did you have to do an interact?
Haven't yet. Yeah,
No,
to
to
go
get
through
through
the
the
window,
window.
yes. All right, what is that doing?
You open a door.
Oh, that's so you can push the thing into it.
So that's so you can be in werewolf form and go there.
Well, no. Oh, you can't get to the window and where? Oh.
You can't. Yeah, you can't go through that tiny little window.
Yes, but you also have something. You have to push something in it, because there's the pressure plate.
Right. So you got to put something
So
on
I have
top
to
of that,
push, yes, since our
like the battery.
can that does this push? It
Nope.
doesn't. Okay, only the battery's
Looks like the only thing, the only movable thing here. Oh, there's a crate.
There is a crate, yes,
Yeah, so you could, if you could figure out how to open that,
like that.
like that.
Yeah.
So you push the battery on top of
Yes. Uh-huh. You're gonna have to.
there, and then you can
Oh, see if we can push that thing.
Nope. the mailbox.
Yeah.
No.
All right, but it is a start.
So face down.
Okay. Fine.
Okay, now you can pull the battery, and go around it. Oh wait,
Oh, stupid thing.
and push it.
Can't go through there.
Okay.
Ooh, yeah.
Okay. Well, in that case, you have to pull it first. Go past it. Okay. Oh, pull. Pull. Now you have room to get past it. And you can push. So this game was undoubtedly made by,
Pull, rather.
let me talk first, by the smallest of mechanics. And where do you want to put it? And then once you had the basic mechanics down, then you could do the more complicated things, like turning into a werewolf. And then you say, okay, what kind of puzzles can I do that require two forms? And it starts getting more and more sophisticated as you go along. Okay, you've now opened up a battery compartment.
Yes.
And, we already opened that one. But you don't need that there anymore because its only purpose was to be able to get the box out of there. Is it going to work? I don't think so.
No, it's not. I've got it. Oh, that right.
Pull,
I keep
pull,
thinking.
pull.
Yeah,
Why
I
are you
forget.
I
I
can't get
forget
through that.
that you can't get past that stinking tree.
Keep going. One more. Okay, go around it.
I can't.
You can't go to the right?
All right, I can
You can't
pull
pull?
it. I can pull it.
Kenso. Okay, you're not going to be able to get around that, so... Oh, you can.
That's just trash.
Okay, that's just decoration. So now you can push it all the way.
Right.
Hooray! Another puzzle solved.
Yay! And we get to open the door.
So playing this game too, you're doing it, figuring out one puzzle at a time. I've managed to connect it to game development. But yeah, I did my first stuff in BASIC. I was on the you gotta change. I was on the CPM BASIC, and that was fine for doing things. But even that I had led into because in college I worked with Snowball. And I had made a Snowball database program that allowed me to keep track of my record collection. I had a big LP collection, and couldn't keep track of it all. So I wrote a thing that you have to something with that. I don't know what you're gonna do with it.
Well, we have to get rid of this first because it's in our way.
Yep.
So we'll have to push it.
Push it or pull it.
You can't. Pulling it will just block our way.
Oh, okay, maybe go down, push the box out of the way.
Actually, let's open the safe. So I'm going to pull it.
Yeah, but you'll still have to move the box out of the way to move anywhere.
Oh, all right, fine. That's true.
Push the box. Okay, now you can get through and you can change forms and open the safe.
Yeah.
So yeah, BASIC is actually fine for doing simple little programs, but I ended up having, because we were in 64K of memory on my CPM machine, not megabytes, kilobytes. I had to chain and do multiple programs, even do the simplest thing. I actually studied COBOL in high school. I overheard some of my friends talking one day about taking a course in Fortran that was being taught at the Department of Water and Power. And that was part of a program that they had that was basically intended for lower class or middle class people that wanted to learn a trade, and so they were doing this course that allowed you to learn Fortran, and then later on those same friends went to, I think it was TRW, and took the COBOL course. And each of those is really valuable. One of the cool things about the COBOL course is that the teacher didn't teach COBOL right away. He first said, okay, you have to understand the fundamentals of what is a computer. And he taught us about bits and bytes and Boolean logic and stuff like that. He said these are the stepping stones that make a computer. And once you learn that, then you can learn COBOL and the system that was designed for. Oh, I already did that. Oh, you're pushing it. I don't know why, but that's okay.
I want to get it out of that square, so I don't get. I'm going to bring the battery in, and I need to be able to maneuver with the battery.
Ah.
Well, that wasn't too hot, but I can do it this way.
There we go.
Well, it isn't the most efficient, but it is a way to do it.
There's probably multiple solutions to these, but there's always at least one solution because these are not randomized scenes. They're all custom designed for a particular set of puzzles. This is interesting. You're going to push that up, and then you can't get there.
Yeah.
So you're going to have to turn your... That's okay. Push it all the way up.
You think so?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh.
Yeah,
I see.
Push
what
it all the
you're
way up
talking
and leave it
about.
there.
Okay.
Now you have to change forms.
Yeah, and go through the window.
And all that stuff. A lot of the problem running a program in QBasic is in timing. QBasic has no facility. Oh, so what I was going to say is when people think they're making a game, they think they're making, a huge game like Call of Duty. And that means they've got to do the graphics, the animation, and all that other stuff. And, of course, no, QBasic isn't suited for that. But if you're doing like a text adventure, QBasic is fine. We're getting up to 4:13 already.
Yeah, it's time to
okay.
say it.
My brother is waving goodbye. My brother's here to visit for a week.
And Highbury Hazard says, "Hi, how are you doing these days?" Well,
we're doing okay. My mom passed away 3 months ago, and we're dealing with the fallout of that and the family issues. Isn't that where you came from?
I don't know.
Yeah, it was blue.
Oh, okay. Blue is the key.
Blue is you've been there before.
Okay.
You've opened it.
Okay, so.
So, to make a game like, basically don't start with even a Sierra game. Go back all the way to Infocom. Makes it a text adventure. And for Infocom, we're over it. I'm getting over a cold. We went to Disneyland a month ago, and I proceeded, of course, immediately to get sick. I did not mask as a bad person. But it's almost over. Life is proceeding, and we're having the experience of a little more freedom between not having to be caregivers and between COVID being mostly beyond us. Then we're starting to say, okay, what are we going to do for the rest of our retirement / game making? And so we have choices where we were constrained in fewer choices before. You could just push it all the way to the wall.
Yeah, I will, but or figure out where if I need it.
I don't think you need it.
I don't think I do.
I think you need it out of the way.
But you can only push a steel thing, yeah. Okay, fine.
You can't pull steel.
You can't pull steel. That
so
was what we
if you
just
push
got
it all the way to the end, you'll never get it out again.
I know, but
that's okay. But that's why there's a reset command right there in the R, which allows you to restart the scene. It's a very friendly game. I would push it all the way, but I suppose it doesn't matter.
Are we gonna need it?
Probably not. You're not going to go in that
No,
square.
I don't think we need to get into that square. So, at any rate, please be careful out there. COVID numbers are down, but it's no longer a global. But COVID is still out there, and yes.
Yeah, we caught something that felt like COVID. I did a COVID test and came out negative, so therefore technically not COVID. But you know, one respiratory disease is much like the others. You're going to want to pull it behind the truck, go around the truck, push it.
Okay.
Do, and then go up above it and pull it. It's push me, pull you.
Yeah.
I discovered that push is a naughty word in German, so you can't actually. I told someone about Dr. Whoever wrote the push me, pull you story. My little, teenage girl I was staying with in Germany started laughing embarrassedly. You don't say that. Well, I did. There is power.
Yes.
This wasn't too complicated room.
No, but it does.
Is that another place you can go
No, I don't think so. It just introduced the other thing.
Damn dress shops seem to be everywhere. They used the word damn. Must have been an Australian game. We couldn't do that in American game. Well, we can now.
You can.
I actually got, when we were working on Quest for Glory 2, I got a phone call from Ron Gilbert. You can't go through there.
I know. It's right out back.
Ron kind of paw print. Who said, can I use the word hell in an adventure game? Or is that, beyond the comics code, effectively? And I said, well, it depends. Are you using it as a curse word or as the place? And he said, well, it's the place. And I said, well, that should be fine. We're not really that restricted. And it turned out that he was actually putting in hell or into Secret of Monkey Island as a place to go. You're going to have to get that box out of the way or you won't have room to move.
Mm-hmm.
I'd push it up in the corner personally.
Yeah, I was just seeing that's a.
Just an arrow. To junkyard.
Okay.
This room goes to the junkyard. It's what it's actually saying.
All right, fine.
So we're responsible for deciding that it was okay for Secret of Monkey Island to have a hell.
Have a naughty word.
Yeah. Mustn't say the naughty word.
Yes.
Oh, now that you push that box into the corner, I'll bet you had to put it on a pressure plate.
Well,
Or...
there are pressure plates there, but you can't.
You're going to have to reset this one. I have led you astray.
You have led me astray. Well, because we have a battery and we have a pressure thing, and so, yeah. All right, fine.
Okay.
Well, all right. That's a good point.
But we're basically at the time to save our progress and hit escape. Or click escape. And I think that's the one. No, is it? Oh, no. Not that. The newspaper.
Save and quit.
Oh, that's interesting. Go back. Go back in. Continue. Okay, let's click on this file folder.
Okay.
I don't think we had that before.
Yeah, we got it from the
lack of evidence. It's a rather sad, empty-looking folder. It smells nice, though.
It's what we're looking for evidence. That's our goal.
Okay, I was wondering whether that was multiple save games.
No, that wasn't. Okay. We are going to
go to the newspaper, I believe, wasn't it?
And then we're going to go
quit.
Because it saved it. 10%.
And then say quit. We made it 10% of the way through this game.
Yay! I must be younger. Community college mostly used C++, and then the university mostly Java. Interesting.
Okay, so when I was in college, I was introduced in my senior year. Some of my friends who had previously introduced me to Plato said they got this cool new thing. We had all these, I think it was RSTS or something like that, basic terminals. And they were all part of a system that just ran BASIC. But my friend told me that was actually sitting on a computer that the basis of which was Unix. And he said behind the scenes was the Unix operating system, and the C language. And he was teaching himself C. And that friend later on was one of the founders of Cursor, which was the Commodore Pet magazine that sent out cassette tapes.
Really?
Yes.
Huh.
So there are all these weird tie-ins of things. And I was interested in hacking the RISC's BASIC system and playing with that and seeing what I could do with that. So I didn't actually get around to learning C then. Probably an error. He was leading me in the right direction.
Yes, C was the most popular language for a long time.
And C++ was years later. There was Objective-C came first.
Okay.
And trying to do object-oriented. That was based on Smalltalk, which is, I think, the first full object-oriented system. And C++ was a hybrid trying to use C-like syntax, but also allowing you to do object-oriented programming techniques. And it ended up becoming the winner. The other one was C#, which Microsoft pushed.
Highbury says, its influence on me was that I was young and figured that being a programmer meant having to learn a new language every 5 years, so I didn't pursue it.
Having to learn a new language every 3 months in my case.
Yeah.
That was my college. UCSB did not really have a computer science program, but they had classes, and all the classes were basically learn PL1, learn Pascal, and eventually in my senior year they added in learn about operating systems, learn about compilers. So those were the only real, what I would today call computer science curriculum.
Cephalus Squid says Objective-C still lives on iPhone development.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. It never goes away. What is the...
Yeah, Pascal became big on the CPM thing because Borland developed Turbo Pascal and was basically, I think it was a guy out of France actually, had come up with this Pascal that was small enough to fit on 16K, because a lot of people didn't have the full 64K on their CPM machines.
And then there was Fortran.
Fortran was the mainframe language.
What was
and
the,
was for scientific development.
Yes, the Fortran. So there's still computers out there with Fortran on it to this day.
Fortran was for science and mathematics. COBOL was the, and what was the other one? It was RPG, report something generation. Was RPG, and those two languages were the big ones for businesses. And the joke in The Office or whatever it was, about having to do the TP, or whatever weekly reports, and not actually doing any work, just making reports. That's what you can mostly do in those. I actually did, write a couple COBOL. I think I actually did my my thing for my record collection in COBOL first. Whereas in Snowball it was 4 lines of code.
I see.
Snowball is a very powerful language. TPS reports from Office Space. Thank you.
Yeah, that's it. Okay, so at any rate, that was our
talk?
Our talk today. A little bit of history, a little bit of puzzle solving. If you haven't played
MacGuffin's Curse, you should.
You should.
It is. It's on GOG. It is on Humble. I don't know whether it's on Steam. It might be.
Should be. And it's entertaining. It's an amusing thing.
It's very challenging. It gets as you saw it more and more challenging as you go along.
As challenges go, it's one that I could solve. So it is not one I would say is a tough game. It does not frustrate me overly much, and it has lots of, as you see, a lot of clues and things like that to try to.
There's also storytelling and character development, and you get to learn more about who you are and how this curse arrived and so on.
Yeah.
I put it in the same category as my own Castle Dr. Brain. And with the puzzle-worthy game that I keep teasing and not actually getting to designing. If I really came up with some good puzzles and puzzle-worthy, then the next step would be to start getting it built.
Yep. So anyway, we will see you next time in 2 weeks, which is, according to this computer,
Unfortunately, that is the week after Memorial Day.
Right. It is the 3rd. And
So,
it'll be June, and we'll
June
have to come
3rd.
with a nice theme for June.
June brides? I don't know.
No. Anyway, thank you very much. We'll see you next time, and have fun.
Juno, we can talk about the Jupiter probe.
Ah, okay. We can do June.
We can do space science and Juno.
See you later. Bye-bye.
Or Greek gods, whatever, Roman gods. Bye-bye. Thank